Hello, Alex Lafkus here. I'm going to tie a really simple bucktail that we fished in the latest video. I want to show you a couple things here to start. This is the Tiemco 9395. Pretty heavy gauge. I think that's why I was losing fish. This is the MFC straight eye wide gap streamer hook. A lot thinner. See if I can compare them here. That should give you an idea of the gauge, the gap, everything better on the MFC one. Now, quality control, I don't know about. One of these was kind of crooked. Whatever, it's just a trout. It's not a 100-pound fish. 2, black nickel finish, usually a little bit duller, so I went ahead and touched it up with a file before even putting it in the vise. Super simple fly, but I've had some people comment about just kind of keeping up with tying with what I fish with, so I'm going to do that. This is actually a really good, work good. I don't know why I quit fishing these 100 years ago. I don't know what this stuff is. I forget the name of it. It's just like a mylar kind of body stuff. You could probably just dub the body this a little quicker. And I'm not tying it in all the way back. I don't know. The guy who showed me this fly a million years ago, I used to tie it a ton on 2370s, which was pretty sweet ring eye hook, but it didn't have much hook gap. This has a much better hook gap. Here's a picture of that Paca. These are the 2/0. I think you can see that straight eye 70-50 wide gap streamer. I got some 1/0, some 2/0. I'm going to play with them a little bit. So the first step is I'm going to take a few inches of, this is 0.025 lead. I'm just gonna peel off a few inches. I'm gonna weight this near the front, just put some wraps up here. $11 or $12 wraps is what I've been doing, and that seems pretty good. So I've been tying these in, I'm going to do a yellow and white. It's super simple, man. But I think this hook is definitely, could be a winner. We're going to try it, find out. I'm going to fish these more next year too, once the water gets low in May. I have a tendency to like to switch to smaller once it gets low and clear, unless you just have that day that they're all out committing suicide, which happens about once a May if we're lucky. And I don't know, we just don't seem to be getting rain like we used to, so who knows. Actually, last spring it rained a lot. It rained enough that the dry fly fishing was a little tricky. But one of the nicest things about just tying these standard bucktails is it allows you to go through and use a bunch of your bucktail that's like not hollow and probably isn't the stuff you're using. You know, like if you buy a couple bucktails, some will be good, some will not. I try to sort them. Every once in a while I get surprised on, you know, one that's not as hollow as I thought it would be. Some of the flies I tie, I like it just a little hollow. And when I'm reverse tying, it kind of doesn't matter. So this is just kind of a good way to use maybe a top of a bucktail that's not going to flare a ton, because I do like these to kind of not flare a ton. And then it just kind of helps keep it in, you know, proportion, or kind of keeps that body together. I always do this with my bucktail. Instead of using a ton, I'll just kind of stack it in my hand. And then, you know, this is like all these single hook streamer flies, you know, where you're trying not to go too far back behind the hook. You just don't want it to, be following around that hook. So you're just kind of covering up a little bit of that body. Like, have you seen me do this before with any bucktail, deer hair, anything I'm tying with? I always kind of section off the head just to get it to really lock in there. Turn it pretty close there. I might have pushed it a little far forward, but whatever. It'll be fine. But this is just, another simple basic minnow pattern. I mean, this is as basic as it gets. And it was really effective the other day, like we threw some other stuff with a, would a black ghost or something have worked fine? Probably. I don't know. I just happened to tie one of these on and try it. This has kind of been a little trend of mine lately. I'm fishing a lot more of these smaller, more traditional flies. I think I'm having better success too because of just, the low clear water conditions on all of our rivers. I think in the upper Midwest, that's what it kind of seems like. I talked to my muskie buddies in Wisconsin and they're saying the same. They're just like, oh my. So you're just kind of matching it more to your situation. And we're just going to go ahead and do a yellow and white. That was kind of the deal. Super simple, kind of get it about the same, but you can see that buck hair does not want to flare at all, which is just fine for what I'm doing here. But I think this hook is going to work good, this MFC hook. It's quite a bit lighter wire, and it does have a bigger gap. So those two things I'm very much a fan of. Another fly that you can just, you can bust them out, get them in a few colors. It seemed like that yellow and white was doing the trick the other day. And I just really regret not having a different hook out there. I threw those hooks away years ago. Unfortunately, I didn't throw them away. I kept them, which made me think I could use them again and that they would work. I still miss a ton of fish on them. And then I like to do the little bit of peacock on the back. Just at least give it a little more. I mean, it's about as basic as it can get. And I'm going to fish these more next spring. Like I said, one of my good friends has caught some really big fish on these. Now, granted, that was 20 years ago, but I think everybody's gone to running that big stuff. And I'm not sure that's always the best idea. I catch a lot of fish on this smaller stuff. Then I'm just going to kind of make sure I get that head nice and covered up. But that's it, baby. And boy, you can turn through these. You can sit down and tie yourself 3 yellows, 3 olives, 3 whites, whatever, chartreuse, pink, doesn't matter. And you're good to go. And that's another nice little 2-inch minnow pattern. Little different action than the marabou. Obviously, it doesn't swim as much. It doesn't wiggle in the current, but it looks fine. I'm using thick thread on this just because of the how much pressure I want to put in on that bucktail. And then, as pretty typical, I go ahead and do my Sally Hansen's at the end. And that's it, man. Super simple little bucktail. But you'll catch a ton of fish on these. Cool little, just whatever. I do like adding a little bit of weight. Help it get down and kind of keep her running. But that was kind of the ticket the other day. We went through the minnow stuff and it was good. Switched to some leechy jig type flies. Didn't work at all. Right when we went back to these, started catching them again. So that's your guy. Just stupid bucktail streamer. Simple as can be.